Good evening, everyone, and welcome to round 6, week 6 of the UK and Ireland Radical Race Series here at MOSPORT. My name is Daniel Handover, and joining me in the commentary box this evening, as always, is Mr. Ed May. Ed, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing brilliantly, Dan. Thank you again for having me here on Absolute Sim Racing for the 6th week of the UK and Ireland Radical Race Series here at the wonderful MOSPORT, whichever way you pronounce it. It is, of course, the Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. What a venue for racing this is. So many fast, high-speed corners, a roller coaster circuit up and down. It's amazing to be behind the wheel of a Radical around here, and we've got, I think, 20 or so cars all fighting for position, all trying to take the race victory. Having a look at some of the cars we have out on circuit at the moment. I've just been having a look, and of the drivers that got on the podium last time out, of course, Dan Webster, John McHutchinson and Paul Crabb, the top three. There's only one there, and it's Dan Webster. He's currently sitting top of the pile, sitting with a 1 minute 11.467. But look at the thin margins. 100th of a second from first to second. So close here. We're following Dan Webster on his next qualifying lap. I think this is his second flying lap. So you'll expect the tyres to be in better condition here, Dan. And going to see if he can try and take 2 wins on the bounce.
Well, I think, to be fair, 2 wins on the bounce, he's not going to complain at a possible chance of that, is he? It was a very, very good performance last time out. And, to be fair, it's something that you just can't really argue with, can it? It was very, very good indeed. And something that John Hutchinson didn't have an answer to. He said that in the interview as well. He said he felt consistent, he felt he had pace, but Dan Webster just had that little bit more. Speaking of which, John Hutchinson, I can't actually see him in the grid. I don't believe he's with us this time around, which is a big, big shame, because that's going to cost him significantly in the championship.
Paul Crabb either. Paul Crabb not attending this evening. So 2 of the drivers that were on the podium last time out at Hockenheim not here at the moment. But Dan Webster really stamps his authority, doesn't he, now going that little bit faster. Simon Edwards closes the gap, brings it back down to less than 1/10 of a second. But is Simon Edwards got another lap in the tank? I don't know if he does.
Well, he jumps in the pits, so he may be able to come back out. So does Martin Booker. They all go in the pits as well. So I wonder if that could be them done and dusted. I mean, Dan Webster, he has got, well, at the end of the day, if Simon Edwards and Martin Booker, if neither of those guys put a lap in, Paul LeMay, just on your screen now, he jumps up into P6. A very good position gain for him there. Again, it's so close down the field. It's absolutely insane. But at the moment, Dan Webster, Simon Edwards and Martin Booker, neither of those 3 are going out. And we've got 4 minutes left of this lone qualifier.
Yeah, and I've actually had a correction, of course, from Dan Webster. He's not looking for 2 wins on the bounce. He's not looking for 3 wins, 4 wins. He's looking for 5 wins on the bounce. He's on a brilliant run of form. Bathurst, Sonoma, Hockenheim, and now, if he can get it across the line, MOSPORT is going to be a good run of form. If he can get it across the line, of course, he doesn't have the close competition of John McHutchinson here. John, who admittedly dominated the opening couple rounds of the championship, winning both first and second races. But from then on out, Dan Webster just seemed to find that extra level. But with Simon Edwards so close to second place, it's not going to be all easy breezy for Dan up in front.
No, this is very true, actually, to be fair. It's something that you've got to be cautious of. I mean, the gap, it's not too much, to be perfectly honest with you. There is the gap is, it's tiny. The gap is absolutely tiny. You really can't take anything like this, especially even with this small little place for granted. You just can't take any of it for granted whatsoever. But at the moment, no one has an answer for him at this moment in time. We're going to have to see if that continues to stay as is. And I wonder, it may very well do. In which case, it's talk about confidence. That's really going to be confidence inspiring for Dan Webster there if he can maintain this pole position again, especially with the likes of John Hutchison not around this time out.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're following a few more drivers out on qualifying laps. Patrick Charlton on this long back straight. Expect to see plenty of drivers getting slipstream, making moves down the inside into this sweeping right-hander. Patrick trying to set an improved lap time. You can see currently on the bottom of your screen, green sectors across the board here for Patrick. He'll look to come through the final corner. Careful to avoid the curbs, upset the balance of the car. Comes across the line. Patrick Charlton improves up to 10th place. Gets himself in the top 10. Good little lap that for him. Patrick Charlton at the final moments. Dave Dowson, we can see out on circuit. Well, not completing any laps, just parked there after the first corner, about to go down the hill. And I think that brings us to the end of all of the action in qualifying here, Dan. So we can see what the grid's going to look like.
Oh, we can do indeed. We've actually got a couple more moments. I believe when Dave Dowson, when he returns to the pits, that will then move the session onwards. So just a few more minutes before we get going. But yeah, I mean, to be fair, look how close it is. We have seen we have seen this series in the past. It has been close, and this race is going to be absolutely no different. Because when you really look at it, I think, to be fair, we're halfway through the championship. Now, this can still really go very, very, very much either way. There's lots of different things that can happen here. As we're only 6 weeks in, there's half of the season to go, and look how close it is on the gaps. I mean, they're just so close. Simon Edwards and Dan Webster, the gap is 0.04 of a second. Looking further down, Paul Clark as well, the gap is between himself and Dave Kirkman is less than 100th of a second. It's just ridiculously close, and that's just providing, one, obviously great racing for us, but it's also providing some really, really interesting races for the drivers in the championship as well. You've got to try and play it for the long run, but also be conservative and, well, actually try and be quite aggressive, I suppose, and try and make up these positions, because there's not a lot of time in this race, is there, really? Per race, it's a very short sprint race. So you've got to try and balance the both.
Yeah, you do, and we're going to be able to see Dan Webster, if he can do that fine balancing up, because he is on pole position for this week 6 at MOSPORT. Not the biggest margin, though, is it, to Simon Edwards, who will join him on the front row of the grid. Second row, third place, sees Martin Booker lining up ahead of Frankie Dixon, with Paul Clark in 5th. Dave Kirkman, who starts 6th. Paul LeMay, Phil Glover, Jay Bird, and Patrick Charlton, who at the end of qualifying managed to improve up to top 10, and it obviously rounds out your top 10 for the grid. Graham Brown in 11th, ahead of Stuart Matthews, Tim Adcock, Dominic Lang-Webb, Simon Maltby, Martina Ward, Dave Dowson, Christopher Kane, and Ray Peasley. See all of the cars here lining up on the grid here. Dan Webster up a front, ahead of Simon Edwards, just waiting, I think, for Simon to get up onto the grid, and then we'll be able to get this show on the road.
We will indeed. Simon Edwards is now on the grid. Just got a couple more drivers, and then we will be able to get this race underway. MOSPORT's a great circuit. It's got 10 corners. It's got a little bit less depending on where you look at them. We're going to be using the full 10-corner layout here, but we are just about getting ready to go. The lights go on. Who is going to get the jump? Who is going to get the actual... Who's going to get the best start? And we are away. Dan Webster getting a very, very good start. It's very close down the field already. You can see lots of positions happening down the timing tower. Looking a bit further down the field already. There's some jostling between position. Possibly going to go 2 wide. Who's that? Is that Jamie Bird and Stuart Matthews? It might very well be, as they all go down possibly 3 wide coming into turn 2. Someone goes slightly wide. That's Graham Brown. He's going to lose out a lot of positions there, but this gaggle of cars, 2x2 Noah's Ark style, bit of a late lunge possibly from Stuart Matthews, but big accident. Who was that? The number 75, Stuart Matthews. Oh, what on earth happened there? Well, it was off on his own accord. We're going to have to try and get a replay of that. Jamie Bird holding his own in P11. That's a last minute. Whoa, Jamie Bird actually trying to get up into P10. Couldn't quite make it stick. There's another car from the background. Who was that? I think it may have been Martina Ward that got caught in that instant as well. Had nowhere to go. And Martina Ward again, unfortunately, just getting caught up in an early instant at the start. Well, I'll tell you what, this first lap isn't even over yet, and it's a very interesting start already. Tim Adcock versus Simon Maltby as they now come through into the latter half. Turns 8, 9 and 10 going through the S's now. Really utilising the high downforce that these cars have. Tim Adcock lost a position to Simon Maltby, and he couldn't quite make it back after that. Lots of replays to look at after that first lap, Ed. So I'm going to try and find those, but I'll tell you what, 21 laps of this, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, you'll have to talk in and out when all of the in my internet's not too pleased with someone else.
We seem to be losing you a little bit, Ed. Your internet seems to be causing a few issues, so we'll try and get you back in a second. It's a little bit of a struggle to hear yourself, to hear you at the moment, which is a little bit of a shame. While we try and get that back, we're going to try and get Ed's internet up and running a little bit more efficiently in a few moments. But Simon Edwards has started to close the gap already at the front of the field to Dan Webster. There is Dan Webster himself. And then just behind, there is Simon Edwards. Martin Booker's in the pits for some reason. Why on earth would Martin Booker be in the pits? I wonder if he got possibly a jump start or something like that. Either way, that's going to cost him big time there. Not what he wanted at all. Let's have a quick look at what actually goes on initially. So this is Graham Brown as we're coming up. Where does it go? It just goes a little bit wide. Cold tyres. Car just would not turn. And unfortunately, it was done and dusted. This is Stuart Matthews that will have the incident. Again, just goes a little bit wide with his cold tyres, and that is a big hit. That's a big hit. And then I believe Martina Ward had an incident further down the field, or further down the lap, I should say. Where's it going to be? I think Martina Ward may have just got caught up, or just loses the rear. Just loses the rear as it go in again. Cold tyres, and gets collected, unfortunately. That's a big shame. Do we have you back, Ed?
I think you have me back now, Dan. I think you have the joys of me back in. Yeah, a storm's been rolling through here, so sometimes it cuts through my internet a little bit. Doesn't seem too pleased. Just on board now, though, with Patrick Charlton to Radar Racing. You can see just how much the car is unsettled through the dirty air. The slipstream helps you in parts of the lap, but then really gives you a detriment, especially through these long sweeping corners up and downhill. You need all of the downforce possible to carry this momentum through, but the downforce is the main thing that you lose when following cars in close proximity. But it's still fairly close, isn't it, up at the front of the field? I don't think Dan Webster has been able to get away so far at the front.
No, well, I was just saying, Simon Edwards is still maintaining that gap. Might just be biding his time again. It's a difficult track to overtake, as you say, because you just lose all that downforce. Now, bit of very good car control there by Patrick Charlton. Just managed to keep it as is. Very nice indeed. Exactly, this is the thing. All of this, pretty much MOSPORT is pretty much all medium to sort of higher speed corners. So it's very tricky to maintain some form of actual pace, especially when you're behind someone. It's really similar to what you would find dirty in Formula 1. It's almost like seems to be that drastic because it is so difficult to overtake in these higher downforce cars. But Simon Edwards still managing to stay with Dan Webster at this moment in time, and he's really wanting to make a move. I think he's wanting to make a move ideally sooner rather than later. He might not be trying to bide his time, but instead he might just be wanting to get past and get gone, as we've already got 5 laps that have gone. When, bear in mind, this is a minute 11 lap. This is not a slow lap by any stretch of the imagination. Simon Edwards, this is the closest he's been. If he can get a good run now, going down through turn 3, out into turn 4, down into Moss, the turn 5 and 6 complex, he might just about get it. If not, you have to wait to the Mario Andretti straight to try and make the move. I mean, ideally, he's close enough. He should be close enough. Gets a little bit of a slower exit than I think than Dan Webster. That has cost him, but already, look at the delta on the left-hand side. It's already starting to come down. It's not going to come down enough. It needs to probably be, Ed, I'm imagining, around about a tenth and a half behind. Around about a tenth and a half behind Dan Webster to try and make the move. Meanwhile, Ed Kirkman really close to Paul LeMay.
Yeah, it is starting to close up a little bit here. You can see Cave Kirkman trying to find any way through. Was very close at the end of the Andretti straight, but couldn't get any opportunities down the inside opening up for him. So he slots in behind Paul LeMay, and then looks for anywhere else. This is a replay of Simon Maltby. He was a lot closer down the Andretti straight and took the inside nice and quickly. But then, what a fight around through there. That was an amazing move by Jamie Bird. Comes through in the end to hold on to that position. He thought it was done, but it just the faith he had in his car, the downforce around the outside, no dirty air, of course. If you're around the outside, side by side, and used it to great effect to then get the inside, and there's nothing really to have an answer to that defence, is there, when a driver just sweeps it around your outside like that? You can't do much other than just stare slack-jawed in awe.
No, this is very true. You absolutely can't. I believe Jamie Bird has actually just had an incident. Yes. Yeah. Let's have a quick look at what happened here. Again, it probably loses it on his own accord. One would imagine he's not that close to anyone. Is it just going to rotate on the brakes?
Too hot.
I think, yeah, as you're right, exactly as you described there, Ed. Just a little bit too hot. Manages to stay exactly where he should be, and then spins it around. I mean, to be fair, as rejoins go, there's a little bit. I thought it was going to go possibly went a little bit wrong there, but managed to keep it all good. So, for an incident like that, minimal time loss, I think.
Scary but safe, a bit like a bungee jump, that rejoin, isn't it? It was a little bit a little bit, oh my god, what's going to go on here? Is it all going to go horribly wrong? But he knew what he was doing. He kept it safe there or thereabouts, at least as safe as you can be in radicals that have got as much power as they have for little amount of weight they have. They're nippy little things and can be sometimes unpredictable, but we're going to be trying to see if up in front Paul Clark can be as predictable as he can. Up in front as Simon Edwards goes for the move for the lead of the race on Dan Webster down the Andretti straight. He's able to take the position. Dan Webster hides back behind, getting into the slipstream, and then will sweep around the outside, trying to hold back, trying to get back into the lead of the race. But Simon Edwards carries the momentum through the speed. There's a slight opening on the inside. The spaces are forward, and then a snap of oversteer. He's able to keep the car just about under control, but Dan Webster keeps his car in front. Good wheel-to-wheel fighting here. Not even halfway through the race. Still plenty more to come here at MOSPORT.
That was absolutely fantastic. What good, again, really good car control from Simon Edwards to manage to keep that car. Bear in mind, this is a high downforce car. As soon as you try and as soon as the car gets upset in terms of balance, the aero hits the car all wrong, or the air hits the car all wrong. So you just lose all that downforce and it can snap on you. But fair play to Simon Edwards. But yeah, Dan Webster kept his foot in. And what an absolute brilliant move indeed there. I just saw someone that's just lost a couple of positions. I think Patrick Chelton just lost a couple of positions. But we also have a replay of Martina Ward having another incident. This is coming up into the Moss Corner complex. Possibly just a little bit too hot. It might be. Ooh. Again, a little bit later into the corner, but a similar incident we saw from Jamie Bird but a few laps ago. Again, big shame for Martina Ward. That's definitely going to be frustrating, but it's not over yet. Anything can happen. And then this is where Patrick Chelton lost a couple of positions here. So where is Patrick?
He was off the circuit. I think he was just a couple of wheels too wide and had to slow the car right down to avoid getting into the wall, to avoid losing total control of the car. So he lost a couple of positions, but he's still in the fight. The battle maybe lost, but the war is still there to fight for and there to try and win. As we watch Christopher Kane, just loops it out of the final corner. Does he hit the wall? Yes, he does. Is the car damaged? Oh, well, I hope not. Oh, no.
It is.
Sickening sight. You saw, and it just keeps going worse and worse for Christopher Kane. Can't find any way through, any sort of luck or whatsoever. If I was, scary rejoins as well. Oh dear, this is.
It's a shame, isn't it?
It's like a car crash you can't look away, but that's exactly what it is.
Very well observed there. No, it's frustrating again. MOSPORT, it's such a tricky track at the best of times, let alone in cars such as these. It really is. Here's Paul Clark. He is trying to defend from Paul LeMay. So who is going to come out on top at the moment? It is still Paul Clark. And again, as we go through the final complex turn 10. Really quick transition. I have noticed as well up ahead, Simon Edwards, he's dropped at 1.2 seconds, so about a second or so he has dropped from Dan Webster. So possibly just a small little incident that occurred earlier on. Obviously that is going to be costing. That will be costing him some time, but he's already pulled a couple of tenths back. Meanwhile, Simon Maltby, what's happened here between himself and Dom Lang-Webb? I wonder if Dom's had a moment. I believe he has, and he's out. What on earth happened there? Let's see if we can get a replay of that. And here we go. Where is it going? This is Simon Maltby. This is not what we want. We actually want to see where Dom... Oh, he just loses it. Just unfortunately loses it. Here we go for Dom Lang-Webb. Is it going to be just taps the exit of the curb onto the grass? It might be. Yeah, just. It doesn't take a lot. It does not take a lot there.
I really hope that Dominic is not in VR for that, because look at how fast, look how many times he spun around as well. As soon as he hit into the wall, that is, well, enough to make anyone with the strongest of stomachs sick. We're going to go on board. Oh no, Dan. If you feel car sick or seasick, close your eyes, because look at this. Oh.
Yeah, I would not like to be. Would not like to be in that. Would not like to be in that in the slightest. Not a good position here. Martina Ward obviously trying to going to get past. But Martina Ward has got no damage. Chris Kane does have quite a significant amount. At the moment, you can slay again on the delta on the left-hand side and at the bottom right corner of your screen. This may well be just a relatively easy pass. Chris is holding the inside, but it might not be enough. He does slot back in though. So at the moment, still maintains his P14. Martina Ward, very, very close indeed. I'm sure there's going to be a move on the cards sooner or later.
Yeah, I think we saw Martina being very cautious there and trying to pass Chris Kane. She could see the damage on the car in front and didn't want to get as close as possible because it looks like it is a very tricky car to handle that Chris Kane is trying to wrestle around this MOSPORT circuit. As we just see Patrick Charlton ahead of Simon Maltby. Simon will look to the outside, is gaining, and going through, absolutely breezing past, actually. Wow. What a move that was. I think Patrick Charlton was a little bit too cautious on the run to the corner, and all of a sudden Simon Maltby saw the chance and just swept on by.
Yeah, well, that would be the reason why Patrick Charlton did have a slow exit. He doesn't hit the wall, but that did cost him a good 5 or 6 seconds, and yeah, there we go. That would be the reason as to why.
And I think he was also a lot more cautious because he still had cooler tyres, grass on them, difficult to stop. It's a lot more smarter just to not fight a car when your tyres are covered in grass and dirt and all sorts of other things that accumulate on the side of a racing circuit. As Dave Kirkman goes wheel to wheel with Paul LeMay. Dave Kirkman around the inside, able to hold off Paul LeMay, but Paul is going to fight him right back. Looks to the outside, which will then become the inside, but that door is slammed firmly shut in his face by Dave Kirkman. So now the chance has to go to the outside. Paul LeMay around the outside of the Andretti straight is going to actually clear a path in front, and he's going to be able to take the corner as normal. So Paul LeMay was scary stuff there. I thought it'd been completely blocked off, a very late move, but I think the rear shot from Dave Kirkman made it look worse than it actually was. And that was actually a good clean fight between the pair of them. But Paul LeMay wins out on this occasion into 5th place and will try and set his sights on Paul Clark up in front. Battle of the Pauls to come.
Indeed, Paul versus Paul, quite possibly 1.63 seconds ago. You can just see him on the right-hand side of your screen. That is Paul Clark. And the gap is now 1.5 seconds, so it is coming down. Bear in mind, last laps for both drivers, it was Paul Clark, admittedly. He was racing a little bit. He did get held up slightly there, but it's still very, very close. Paul Clark was a 1:11.74. Paul LeMay actually was a 1:11.47. So he is catching up. He is definitely catching up. The gap has now come down a little bit. It's just touching on the 0.4 or the 0.5, 0.4. So I wonder if Dave Kirkman, if they can actually work together at this point, they may very well be able to catch up to Paul Clark. But again, we will have to see. Meanwhile, a little bit further down, Tim Adcock is possibly... He did make a move. I saw Simon Maltby have a moment. I wonder if he had another off track. Let's have a quick look at what happened here. A bit of a lock-up. And oh my goodness. Wow. I mean, that's one way to initiate an overtake. I don't think it's something that Simon Maltby would be particularly happy about. But I think Tim Adcock just carried a bit too much speed, possibly following Simon Maltby. who looked like he was actually carrying a bit too much speed in himself.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head there, but it's such a tricky corner to try and judge, isn't it, Dan? I don't know if you've had a chance to drive many laps around this MOSPORT circuit in a Radical or in any other bit of machinery. I remember commentating on a round where we had Mazdas around this circuit in the VSR series, and I'll tell you what, they struggle to get around here, so I dread to think what it's like to bring a Radical around here.
Absolutely. I'm just looking at the front of the field, though. What's happened here? Because Simon Edwards has just overtaken Dan Webster. Bear in mind, that gap was about a second. So I wonder what on earth happened here. It possibly could be that Dan Webster had a small little error, and he's going to have to be a carbon copy. He's going to have to be committed, but Simon Edwards knows exactly what he's going to do this time around and carries a bit more corner speed, sacrifices a bit of the exit off going through turn 8 and into turn 9 to maintain that lead. Absolutely perfect car placement there from Simon Edwards. Let's have a quick look at that replay of the overtake itself. I'm intrigued to see what happened here. I think it was, yes, slow exit for Dan Webster. And that, unfortunately, just cost him that little bit of time around, down the Mario Andretti straight. Obviously just loses you. That was, what, 0.3 of a second. I might even try and see if I can get a little bit further back just to see the incident that Dan Webster had.
For me, I think it was...
yeah, there you go.
Just took too much in, had to really try and correct it and bring it back into shape, but, well, Simon Edwards seized the opportunity, didn't he? He went for it and didn't give up. And look, there's another mistake, same corner this time from Dan Webster. Dan's not been used to following a car in close proximity into that corner every time, every lap. He's been the one in front, and as soon as he gets, it's like a sniff of dirty air, he can't hold it, it throws him off of his game. And now he's dropped back down the order. Frankie Dixon finds himself in second place. And Simon Edwards has got a 5-second lead at the front of the field with, what, there are 5-6 laps still to go.
Absolutely. Someone that I don't think Simon Edwards is going to be worrying too much about. He's not going to be complaining. Someone that is going to be complaining, though, and is going to be so frustrated with himself is Dan Webster. Although I do feel Dan Webster's pain there because I'm sure we've all been in that situation. It's very easy to do. It is, isn't it? It's one of those things that it's always happened. I wonder, I mean, he's dropping a bit of time to Frankie Dixon as well. I wonder if there could be a possible bit of damage here. Maybe. I'm not too sure where that damage would be. Maybe his tyres have started to go. I'm not entirely sure.
I think these Radicals can be quite sensitive to underfloor damage. We saw he was off the circuit at that uphill right-hander and rejoining the circuit. He might have taken a bump somewhere on the underside of that car. As well, Patrick Charlton gets it all out of shape out of the final corner and loses that one position. That could be the real killer. He thinks he's gotten back up to pace, though. Maybe he was just shaking a little bit up and he's trying to get back into the rhythm of the things, because that's what these cars are so reliant on, is the rhythm, the ability to pump out consistent lap times. And Dan Webster will look to try and get back in front into second place around the outside of Frankie Dixon. Frankie will fight, though, and then look for the cut-back manoeuvre. He's going to have a really opened-up final corner for himself. Has he got the run into turn 1? No, he doesn't. So great move there from Dan Webster to get the position done. Second place now for HP Automotive 111 driver. But we're not going to see 4 wins on the bounce, unfortunately, for Dan Webster, because such is the margin that Simon Edwards has over the rest of the field. Now 6 seconds clear, thanks to just how consistent he's been all race long.
Absolutely, it does indeed. Jamie Bird having a small excursion going out of turn 5. Manages to keep it, though. Very well held indeed. Yeah, you're right.
That corner, every time.
It is the Moss Corner complex. The Moss Corner complex, it's a very, very tricky one. The reason behind is the fact you've got elevation change. You've got a significant amount of let me try that again. A significant amount of elevation change as you go up the hill, which obviously puts a little bit more strain onto the brakes, which you don't necessarily expect to start with. And it can really upset your rhythm as you go through, like you just talked about there. Rhythm is key here. Tim Adcott has actually just had a crash. I can see, you saw on the times how it dropped quite significantly. So let's just see what happened here. Is it going to be in turn 5? It might be in the Moss Combat. Oh, look at that. What a bet that is. Is it going to be losing? A bit too much pacing. Just a bit too much pacing. Is it going to be, again, grips up and then spins? Yep, there you go. As the front end takes the good pirouette, then off he goes again. Yeah, as the car grips up at the front end, obviously with steer and lock, it just sends the car round because you haven't got any grip over the rear. So that was what happened there, but manages to style it out as best he could with only losing minimum positions. Bit of a shame. I believe actually only lost 1 position, to be fair. So he's gone from, I think it was only Graham Brown that passed him. He's still got 2.1 seconds on Martin Booker, who's currently sitting in P10. So at the moment, it's not looking too bad for him. It could be worse.
Yeah, it definitely could be worse, but then again, it could also be that little bit better. Dan Webster trying to stay in front and succeeding in staying in front of Frankie Dixon there. So Dan Webster will set up for second place, but with a lot of his rivals missing out. Obviously, John McHutchinson, Paul Crabb, both on the podium last time out. Not here this evening. It's a big swing in favour of Dan Webster, sorry, this evening, even if he doesn't get onto the top step of the podium. So it's all about the bigger picture, I think, this evening.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. You are absolutely correct. You've got to try and, something like this happened, you've just got to take it with a pinch of salt. You have to just knuckle down, crack on, and really just sort of put it behind you and drive the rest of the race with just as clear head as you possibly can be, because it's so frustrating. Yeah, we've all been in that position at some point, at least in our sim racing career, more times than I would care to mention personally.
I was going to say, me probably more often than you.
Yes, but it's one of those things, isn't it, where it's so frustrating, but the quicker you can put it behind you, the better you will perform, because it just allows you, opens up your mind, it frees your mind up to be able to continue to focus and to crack on. This battle is still going on here between Christopher Kane and Martina Ward. Paul LeMay is actually very, very close to the back of Frankie Dixon. Actually, not, it's Paul Clark versus Paul LeMay. You called it right there, Ed. The Battle of the Balls was going to happen eventually, and now it is finally here. Graham Brown's just had a bit of an instance, so we're going to quickly pause momentarily from this battle and have a look at that replay there.
So Graham Brown going down into the Moss Corner complex. Does he just overcook it? Takes a lot of speed into the corner, just a couple of wheels wide. That's all it takes before you can find yourself spinning around. And I did say that we'd get Paul versus Paul, but I wasn't too bold to make a prediction. But I think I'll be able to firmly say that Paul is going to lead out this. I reckon Paul will finish 4th ahead of Paul.
I mean, to be fair, that's a bold statement there, because anything can happen. Anything can happen. Obviously, we don't want it to. We want them to be able to finish and want to have a really, really good race. But I mean, it's something we've seen in the last lap happen before. We've seen myself and Ed have commentated on many, many things together in the past, and anything can happen. Absolutely anything can happen. I mean, well, we just actually saw what, as we rode on board with Paul LeMay, Martina Ward on the left-hand side. You just saw it out of your screen. Had a small little excursion costing a little bit of time. Unfortunately, that means now the gap is 4.5 seconds between herself and Chris Kane. Graham Brown, though, that small incident was really costing. He's now jumped to the pits. I'm not entirely sure what has happened there, but white flag has been raised, and Simon Edwards has got a second. Well, he's got 5.5 seconds as a gap, although looking at it, Dan Webster has been catching up. Whether that is just because he is in a position where Simon Edwards can just sort of afford to relax a little bit, but even so.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's the case. I think Simon Edwards is just backing off a little bit, has the margin to work with. We did see Timo Cook very slow, I think, coming out of the Moscow complex onto the Andretti straight as, well, Martin Booker goes past up into 8th position. Here's the battle between the two Pauls.
Dan Webster's gone off again.
Dan Webster's made another mistake, and all of a sudden, Paul goes past, as does Paul LeMay and Clark up into the higher up positions. Paul LeMay actually up into 3rd place. So Dan Webster losing out to the two Pauls has been appalling, you might say, but that's definitely not the case for Simon Edwards, who comes through to take a well-deserved victory, his first of this season. Finally, we've had a driver that isn't John McHutchinson or Dan Webster take top honours. Dan Webster actually drops back into 5th position. A nightmare for him, but if you are going to have a nightmare, may as well be when your nearest championship rivals aren't present.
Indeed, I think that's definitely the best way to put it there, I suppose. If there is ever going to be a poor race, then this is the one you want it to be. You don't want there to be anything to worry about realistically within in regards to, like you say, your championship rival not being there. Let's have a quick look at the incident with Dan Webster. It's, again, out of turn 5, so it's Moss Corner. Again, is it going to be a carbon copy? I think it is, yeah, it just takes too much speed. And unfortunately, just loses out. And look at that, the problem is we've got no grip. So the car won't do anything. You're trying to turn right and trying to wrestle the car around. The car just won't do it. And unfortunately, that's when it all can just go that little bit wrong. Yeah, big shame there. Hopefully, here we go. Chris Kane coming across the line, as he does, and that is everyone across the line. A good grid indeed. A few retirements, unfortunately, but in a few moments, we're going to be able to get you the results up for round 6 here of the UK and Ireland Radical Race Series here at MOSPORT. I'll tell you what, as action goes, Radicals do, they continue to give us some amazing racing, and they continue to make sure they do not disappoint.
Yeah, definitely. What a drive it was, though, from Christopher Kane there to keep Martina Ward at bay with a damaged car to bring it through. Obviously, it would have been better to have not had the incident in the first place, but still good stuff there from Chris Kane. Nevertheless, Dan, but like you said, all of the drivers, I think, have made their way across the line, and we can talk you through the finishing order. And Simon Edwards takes his first victory of the season ahead of Frankie Dixon. I can't remember. I think this could be his first trip to the podium as well. So good stuff all around. Paul LeMay, the made his debut, I believe, last time out at Hockenheim, and has got something to cheer about here at MOSPORT with a 3rd place finish, bottom step of the podium. Paul Clark finishing in 4th, with Dan Webster, after such a promising start to the evening, has found himself falling down the order into 5th, ahead of Dave Kirkman, Patrick Charlton, Martin Booker, Tim Adcock, and Simon Maltby, who completes your top 10. Dave Dowson is 11th, ahead of Christopher Kane, Martina Ward, Stuart Matthews, Jamie Bird, all 1 lap down, with Graham Brown, Phil Glover, Dominic Lane-Webb, and Ray Peasley rounding out the field, Dan. But I believe we have a driver in the race control, in the commentary box with us, Dan. I'll let you have a chat to Frankie Dixon.
Indeed. Frankie, how are you doing this evening? Congratulations on P2. It was a very, very good drive indeed.
Yeah, not bad. It was a bit lonely in P3, to be fair. It was hard to catch the guys in front. They had a low downforce setup, so even on the straights, they were just pulling away. So, yeah, it was a bit lonely, a bit hot and sweaty in VR, but yeah, good race, not bad.
VR must be not fun in the slides. Not going to be a fun experience.
It's a good way to lose half a stone of weight in 21 laps.
I really don't blame you, to be fair. I really don't. I can imagine it is not. But no, honestly, really, really good stuff. I mean, to be fair as well, you know, the last sort of few moments there as well, when you made up that position again with, or earlier on in the race, you had that moment with Dan Webb, obviously when Dan Webster had that small little excursion going through turn 5 and 6. I mean, what was going through your mind at the moment? Was it a sort of just knuckle down, crack on, and just sort of like put it behind you and focus again on what's going on ahead, or?
Yeah, it's. I knew I'd got him, obviously, but on the straight, you could clearly see he was catching me with lower downforce and obviously a bit of draft. I was quicker through the corners. You could see the last couple of corners coming down the home straight, and that part I pulled away a little bit. But yeah, I don't know what downforce he was running. I was running with 18 on the rear wing. He must have been running with less. I think Martin was around the same, but obviously he got a false start, so I had to come into the pits.
I wondered.
Yeah, he literally jumped as soon as the lights coming up a little bit. He jumped, so I didn't know if it was a bit of lag but yeah, 2 laps in he pulled in, which is a shame because Martin's really quick, fair driver. But yeah, with them first 2 laps, I could clearly see that I wasn't going to catch him unless I made a mistake. So it's just a case of trying to be as consistent as possible and head down and pray that you finish, pretty much.
Well, absolutely. But I mean, like I said, it turned out very well for you indeed with a P2 overall. So absolutely cannot complain in the slightest, I think, there. And going forward to next week as well, like, I mean, this is going to give you some confidence moving forward into the next round, I'm sure.
Yeah, there's a couple of quick guys missing today with John and Paul Crabb. So, yeah, normally I sit, there's like 5 or 6 drivers behind them too. Obviously, Simon and Dan have, in the last few weeks, have been doing immense as well. But when John and Paul come back, that'll put me net P5 if I have a really good race. So, we'll see who turns up next week and what happens. But yeah, P2, I'm happy. So what can you do?
Well, absolutely indeed. Very good stuff from yourself. And Frankie, before we let you go, anyone that you would like to give a shout out to on the broadcast?
Yeah, Mr. Christopher Kane for putting all the hard work in. Obviously, this wouldn't happen without him, and obviously you guys doing the broadcast. But yeah, Chris is a top bloke and does a lot of work behind the scenes to keep it all up and running. So cheers, Chris.
Absolutely, very well said indeed. Well, Frankie, thank you very much. Appreciate it, and we look forward to seeing you, hopefully in similar circumstances, next week.
Yeah, cheers, guys. Thank you.
Frankie Dixon, P2 overall for this particular event. And I believe we do have, well, we've actually got Ed, I believe this is Phil Glover, and we also have Simon Edwards in here. Gentlemen, how are we doing?
I'm good. I quite enjoyed that. You might have gathered.
Yeah, you might have guessed that, Simon. Great stuff out there, taking, I believe, your first race victory of the season. What does it feel like to be a race winner finally?
It feels relief, actually, especially seeing I made 2 mistakes into Moss there that could have killed me either time. But it's a relief to finish that. And it's nice to put somebody under pressure for a change.
Yeah, it's not the easiest of circuits, is it? MOSPORT, it demands a lot from drivers. We saw it a few times, people struggling into MOSPORT, so you weren't the only one. Was it a circuit that you, when you were doing practice, you had high hopes for, or was this a surprise for you?
No, it's one of those tracks where it doesn't matter what car I'm in, it's just embedded into my brain because, I learned this track inside out when in GPL, you might be old enough to remember GPL.
I'm definitely not old enough.
And it's not changed much. It's the same sort of layout. So it's one of those tracks where I know every inch of it. So and I always enjoy driving it. It's just Moss is always fantastic when you get it right. And that last section, I love it. Coming through the fast corner and then into the increasingly tightening corners at the end there.
Yeah, especially with all of the downforce on offer. But, well, Simon, it's been great to see you get the first race victory. Obviously, we saw you performing very well in the pre-season rounds at Daytona, but it's been surprising for us that you haven't been able to carry that same amount of form for the rest of the season. Has there been any sort of reasons for that, or has it just not been the circuits that you've been strong at?
I've been taken out the other 2 races that I was in, so that's the reason. I've only been in 2 other races, and I didn't get to the end of the second lap on either.
Well, you managed to get through the first lap, and after that point, it seemed to be a good little fight between yourself and, I believe, Dan Webster up at the front of the field. And, well, does that mean that you think you can fight for a race victory next time out? I can't remember where we are, actually, in a week's time.
Silverstone. I was actually quite competitive there last season when we did the track. I don't know which layout it is, but if it's the GP, I was quite competitive, so I might do it. But it's not my favourite track, but it's probably one of the only cars that I've enjoyed Silverstone in.
Well, plenty of downforce at your disposal around there. If I was in this series, I'd be having Silverstone as one of the races I must get involved in because it's such a wonderful circuit. Thank you, Simon. Congratulations on your first race victory. And if there's any shout-outs you want to make on Absolute Sim Racing, well, the floor is yours.
Well, let's make one to Absolute Sim Racing first. I'm really enjoying these broadcasts, so I'd like to shout you guys out. And I'd like to shout out for Chris, as Phil did, or whoever was before did. Frankie did, sorry, because he's been putting up with my rants. So, so we'll leave it at that.
No worries, Simon. Congratulations. Enjoy. You've got your first race victory under your belt. Let's hope this is a sign of more to come, mate.
Yes, I'll certainly come back for some of the races in the season. You might not see me in every race, but the races where I enjoy practicing and general tracks, then I'll come. Sebring, definitely. You'll see me there.
Well, we'll try and make a big song and a dance about it whenever we see you, Simon. Maybe you'll stick around a little bit more, but in all seriousness, thank you, Simon. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So then, that was Simon Edwards, who joins us in the commentary box after his first race victory at the season here at the midway point of the season as well. We're already halfway through now after this 6th round at MOSPORT, but before we say goodbye, I think we have a chance to speak to another driver, Dan, and you've got Phil Glover in the comms box with you.
Indeed. Phil, can you hear us? We may not have Phil. Phil, are you there, sir? Maybe on push to talk, possibly. Or hopefully, you might try and get Phil back in a few moments. Just while we try and see if we can get Phil, just final thoughts from yourself, Ed. I mean, before we do wrap up. I mean, MOSPORT always provides some good racing. I think that again, a track and car combination I've not seen here before, and I think it really, really works.
Yeah, it really does. Let me admit this. I wasn't expecting too much from MOSPORT. I thought that the Dirty would just be too strong. Of course, you've got the Andretti straight, but the rest of the lap, you've got so many long sweeping corners that I thought the cars just wouldn't be able to follow each other. But I was glad I was proven wrong, because we were treated to an absolute hoot. And now we come, of course, to Silverstone in a week's time. That's one that you don't want to miss. So keep tuned to Absolute Sim Racing. Make sure you like, subscribe to all that good stuff. And final time, Phil, are you there? Unfortunately, Dan, I don't think we have Phil, or at least if Phil can hear us, we can't hear him.
No, unfortunately not. So what we're going to have to do, unfortunately, is wrap up this broadcast. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and watching. As always, it is an absolute pleasure. Congratulations to our top 3. And also a big thank you to our sponsors, iLounge Racing and HPE Automotive. Pleasure to have you both on board as well. But that is it. We must end, and we will see you all next week at Silverstone for some more incredible action. My name is Daniel Handover. I have been joined by Mr. Edward May, as always. A pleasure, and we're going to be looking forward to the goings-on next week at Silverstone for Week 7 of the UK&I Radical Race Series. Make sure, as always, everyone, you take care and stay safe.